Hi, darling. Welcome back. So, if you had the option to choose to be physically attractive or be physically unattractive, which option would you choose? Think about that question because I will tackle it towards the end of the video and I will prove a certain perspective that most people would choose to be physically attractive, handsome, or pretty. So, the catalyst for this conversation today was a video that I saw on TikTok. It was Sawidi. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, but Sawidi. She was talking about pretty punishment, the fact that she was being punished for being physically attractive. A lot of the opportunities and a lot of the undermining that she experienced was because of being physically attractive. And I saw the conversation trickle down to South Africa, and the ladies also had a lot of opinions to talk about. So this video will center women a lot, but I do believe that this is a conversation that also involves men, because men who are physically attractive also have certain privileges that they get because of being physically attractive. So yes, this conversation will be mostly, the videos that I will share will be mostly women, but this conversation encompasses a lot of people. As long as you are a human being, I think we can all understand how it is in the world, how your appearance, how you look impacts a lot of things in the world. But before I add my perspective, I want us to watch a few videos by these ladies that talk about pretty privilege, pretty punishment, being punished for being pretty, and how that has affected some of them and their outlook on the world. So here are the videos, darling.
If you are someone who identifies as pretty, I need you to be careful, more especially in the workplace, but this happens everywhere. So you need to be careful, always vigilant, have your ear open at all times, because if you are someone pretty, if you identify as pretty, you're well put together, you're confident, you have a self-esteem, you are well-spoken, you have people who like you for no reason, please be careful, because there's what's called pretty punishment. So if you're someone who's pretty and you know for sure how much your return hits, I need you to be extra careful, because this world, my darling, is not a safe place, especially for people like you and I. So I need you to take this and listen to it. I'm talking about in your friend groups, in class, maybe you are a student, in church, at work, during family gatherings. Be careful, because women who don't have a self-esteem, women who don't have confidence, women who know that they are not quite a looker, are up in arms. They go after pretty women, guns blazing. I need you to know that you are always going to be a target. People are going to gossip about you. You're going to have bullies gang up against you. You're going to have people trying to shame you. You're going to have people trying to make your life a living hell. Don't allow it.
You have no business complaining about being pretty. Full stop. Like, you have no business complaining about being pretty. This is like if a white person was complaining about being white. Like, have you ever heard a white person complaining that they're white? That seems disingenuous. It seems fake. Not that it even seems, it is fake. It is performative. Like, what? You're complaining because you're pretty? No. You have pretty privilege, and that's amazing for you. I want you to bask in that. I want you to really embrace that and move forward. Like, take it to the max. You are put on a pedestal by society. Hop on that pedestal and shoot for the stars. Like, literally, that is what white people do. You've never heard a white person say, oh my gosh, why am I being given this opportunity? Why? Is it because I'm white? No, they just embrace it and use it to their advantage. So do that too. And it's an unfair world that we live in, and a lot of people would literally die to be at the level of beauty that you are at, and you are here sitting and complaining about it. Like, please spare us. Actually, coming from the Boesties podcast, Because We Said So podcast, we're talking about pretty privilege or pretty punishment, and then someone commented there and said that it even affects your ability to interact with other people because you are constantly met with perceptions as opposed to just being met as who you are. And isn't that what ugly people also experience? Like, everyone is like in the same spectrum. It's just that you experience privilege because you are pretty, and other people experience the non-privileged side of it because they are not pretty. Fat person will experience some sort of will experience discrimination and will not be met on who they really are as a person. They will just be seen as a fat person, and that's that. Like, most of the time people won't really go deep and be like, oh, but they're fat, but I mean, like, they're funny, or they're fat, but I mean, like, they're really smart. People don't really, like, at face value look at it that way. So please, like, I don't like it when people complain about being pretty. Like, that is the biggest pet peeve of mine. Like, do not complain because you're pretty. Like, what the hell are you doing? Like, save your breath to do something with that pretty privilege that you have, okay? And then they went on to they also commented about in the workspace you are given offers which may be inappropriate, but your refusal could lead to your own demise, and you are labeled negatively in situations where you don't meet the stereotype of a pretty woman. The last part could be true, but I just want to focus on the first part of the sentence. Le etikona, you are given opportunities which may be inappropriate in the workplace. My dear, I hate to break it. I'm so sorry to break it to you, to be the one to say this, but that is what women experience. Like, that is what every woman experiences. Like, women will be harassed in the workplace. They will be harassed everywhere. It's not, you're not being harassed because you're pretty. No, you're being harassed because you're a woman. You're being harassed because you are a what's what I'm looking for, like a subpar group ish. I'm forgetting the word, but like, it's not because you're pretty. No, it's because you're just a woman and a man wants to take advantage of you. So I feel like people are very disingenuous when they're having this conversation and complaining about being pretty. And to me, you just suck to me if you're gonna complain about you being pretty. Like, no, ma'am, no, you're experiencing the average woman's experience. It's just that you're experiencing it as a pretty woman. The next woman is experiencing it as a fat woman. And I don't know, guys, I don't know. Please, there's a lot of things to complain about. I feel like there's just a lot of things to complain about. Being pretty is not one of them.
I came across this tweet the other day, and I thought that it served as an effective catalyst for introspection, because a lot of conventionally attractive women conflate pretty privilege to be a shield against deep-rooted misogyny. A lot of conventionally attractive women speak of pretty privilege as a struggle where they are seemingly experiencing more sexual abuse, violence, or harassment from men, when this is a reality that all women are subjected to. And the lack of solidarity that's demonstrated in implying this when you pose pretty privilege to be this kind of struggle is invalidating to the fact that actually less attractive women are experiencing it at an even higher intensity, and that being pretty or being less attractive does not exempt you from being a woman and being subjected to the misogyny that's ingrained in our society. So the pretty privilege is a struggle narrative is really tone deaf and invalid.
Pretty privilege. It's a thing. It exists, guys. The same way that we see things like nepotism and favoritism and biases in the workplace, at school, wherever it is the same way pretty privilege also exists. And just like everything, there's an upside to pretty privilege and there's a downside. And for me personally, I think the two biggest downsides that I've experienced when it comes to pretty privilege has to be, number one, this idea, this bias, this belief that pretty girls, pretty women cannot be smart. Like if you're pretty, you have to be dumb. Like I can't be an engineer, I can't be a chemist, I can't be a doctor. Like it's impossible for me to get distinctions just because I'm physically appealing. The second one has to be the amount of hate and dislike that you get simply because you're pretty. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? I know that you're not going to be everybody's cup of tea. And you're not entitled to think that people have to like you. For me, it has to do with the fact that it goes beyond just how people feel about you. It goes how they treat you. It's what comes with that. It's one thing to feel a certain way. It's another thing is to start treating me badly and horribly and speaking ill on my name and just being mean and rude towards me simply because I'm pretty.
Can we also talk about the downside of pretty privilege, like being hated by other women? This is not a lie. Just because people have privileges, it doesn't mean they also have challenges from having that privilege. Every single human being in the world experiences a privilege. And you know that by virtue of experiencing that privilege, you're also going to experience the downside of having that privilege, because there'll be people who are envious of you, people who wish they had it, or whatever the case may be, that want to punish you for having that privilege. So if you've got height privilege, you're also going to have people bullying you about your height, laughing at you, calling you names because of how tall you are. If you've got light skin privilege, people are also going to bully you for the color of your skin or how light your skin is, and they're going to call you names. I know a girl, when I was in varsity, it was so tragic, and if you're sensitive, please maybe skip this part of the video, but I know a girl whose friends burned her. They burned her. She was beautiful. She was light-skinned, and I'm not saying she's beautiful because she's light-skinned, but she was a beautiful girl who was also light-skinned, and they burned her. They burned her face because they were so upset at how boys liked her for being so light-skinned. So yes, she has a privilege, that she is light-skinned, and in the world, that is a currency she can use to get opportunities. But that doesn't mean it doesn't also put her in danger in certain environments where people are envious or they hate her for it, right? And having a privilege in one space doesn't mean that privilege is universal. Light-skinned privilege in Black women might be a privilege in Africa, but in Europe, they may prefer darker-skinned women. So privileges are not necessarily universal. It depends.
And also, when you speak about the downsides of pretty privilege, it's things that a lot of people deal with anyway. Do you know what I'm saying? You're not being taken seriously. Black women deal with that all the time. You're not, you're having to put into more efforts for people to think that you're smart, this and that. Women go through that on a daily basis. So at the end of the day, it's like, what are you going through that's super unique to being beautiful that everybody else is not going through?
Exactly.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes, you're so right, because the thing that most people, like the pretty privileged people, complain about is the average person's problem.
Yeah, it's like everyone has that problem.
You just happen to be going through the problem and umuhle, like, which I think is a privilege.
Do I think there are any advantages to being physically attractive? 100%. Being physically attractive, like I've said in a few videos, there's a few videos that I've covered on influencers. I will tag them down below, and videos on pretty privilege that I've also done. There are advantages to having pretty privilege, to being a physically attractive person. You get access to job opportunities. You get access. Let's be honest. Let's actually be honest. There's certain banks where you go to in South Africa and you just look at the people who work there, and some of them fit a very similar aesthetic. Like you go to cashiers or at a Capitec bank or at an F&B, and you look at the people who work there, especially in certain areas, you notice that maybe there's a lot of very beautiful women in the venue or a lot of attractive men, and you start trying to piece the puzzle and you're like, okay, I'm seeing something. So there are job opportunities that you can get because of being physically attractive. Not all jobs, but jobs in the media, for example. A lot of the influencers who have infiltrated the media industry have gotten opportunities as actors and actresses because of their pretty privilege, because they are physically attractive. The reason why they even have followers is because of being physically attractive. So being beautiful does come with privileges. Let's actually not negate that. The fact that you follow someone like a Sion Bougie, a Mihlali, there's a reason for that. Yes, the ladies do other things, they do makeup, they do entertainment. But another factor that contributes to you following them is because they are beautiful and attractive young women. Even when it comes to the dating world, I don't think dating is particularly easy for everyone, but I do think being physically attractive creates higher visibility. If you are a physically attractive woman or a physically attractive man, the chances of more people finding you appealing are higher. That is just the reality. People do find physically attractive people appealing. So I'm not saying that dating is going to be easier, but you have a higher reach. An average person might be getting approached by 10 people in a month or 5 people in a month. An attractive woman, on top of that, she's on social media, or an attractive guy. I've shown you these videos on influencers where the comment section is full of people throwing themselves at them, saying things, some very debaucherous things. When you are physically attractive, you have a bigger reach, you have a bigger audience. The reason why a lot of our corrupt politicians, a lot of the people who are corrupt in our country, who do they spend money with? Think about that. Who do they spend money on? They spend money on very physically attractive women. They take our 2 billion rands that are supposed to be spent on Tembisa Hospital, and they use it to buy cars and to impress baddies, to take baddies on trips, to buy gifts, Louis Vuittons, Gucci, for physically attractive women. Even the conversation of girlfriend allowance. A lot of the time, the women who talk about getting girlfriend allowance are women who are very beautiful. Like, yes, I do believe that most women can have the opportunity of meeting someone who's willing to cater and help them financially, especially if it's someone who truly is in love with you. Some people are just generous and giving. Some men are just generous and giving to their girlfriends. That is who they are. But let's not act like a lot of these women who get girlfriend allowances on social media, it's not because they are just these amazing people. It's because they are also very beautiful. And the men who have money, the corrupt men who steal our taxpayer money, use the same money on these beautiful women on social media. So being beautiful, being physically attractive does have a lot of advantages. You get access to spaces, you get access to jobs. Your dating life might look slightly different from the average person's dating life, especially if you are on social media like TikTok and Instagram. You can leverage your beauty in order to get followers. YouTube, I feel, is a very different platform. You need to actually have a personality, have charisma. On TikTok, you can literally be very physically attractive and post a video and get a lot of likes. On Instagram, very similar thing. You can get followers just because of looking beautiful. You don't even have to talk. You don't even have to say anything. You can just post your picture and you have the opportunity of appealing and getting a lot of likes from a lot of people. When it comes to this conversation of attractive people, I do believe that being pretty comes with certain privileges. People who are physically attractive have certain privileges that some of us do not have access to. Yes, there's also definitely a downside. There's absolutely a lot of advantages to being physically attractive, especially in this digital age of social media. There's definitely advantages. You can get brand deals, you can get on holiday, you can get someone rich to pay for your things, you can get a job. There's other privileges that I probably haven't mentioned. And definitely, I do believe that there are disadvantages that attractive people face, especially attractive women. Like Lebu Lion said, There's a lot of stories, especially when you're in high school, you see these things where a very attractive girl can get attacked by other girls because she's physically attractive. They will even threaten to cut her face. There was a story in the UK of a lady, trigger warning, she got an acid attack from a friend or an acquaintance who was extremely jealous of her because of her appearance. So definitely, I do believe that with being attractive, there is advantages and disadvantages. You will get, because you're more visible, the more visible you are, because you're physically attractive, the chances of you experiencing negative things from some men are higher because you have more men approaching you. But here's the nuance. Most women, regardless of how physically attractive or unconventionally you might not find them attractive, maybe they are considered overweight or darker skin tone or average looking, even average looking women get harassment from some men. Even average looking women do get undermined in the workplace just because of their confidence, because they are willing to be confident and share their ideas in the workspace. When it comes to the conversation of harassment, a lot of the women who are pretty would say that they get harassed. That is unfortunately a universal woman experience. Older women, young women get harassed, especially in our country. Older, young, you get harassed, catcalling, inappropriate touching. Women of different looks spectrum do get the similar experience. It's just that the volume, the more physically attractive you are, you might have more people approaching you. You might have more people approaching you, especially on social media, people sending DMs, whereas an average woman might also get approached, maybe to a lesser volume, but at the same time, you are both getting approached. It's just that the volume might be different. And some of the things that these beautiful women complain about are normal human experiences. Just because you got bad service at the hair salon doesn't mean that it was just because you were pretty. It's because sometimes the hairstylist was just in a bad mood. Just because you got bad service at a particular place doesn't mean it's because you're pretty. Some things are genuinely just human experiences. And because you know that you're beautiful, your world view is centered around that beauty. So when you don't get those pretty privileges, when you don't get treated well in certain places, it's easy to say it's because you're pretty. That is not the case. Certain things, being treated badly, is an experience that every person goes through. Even average men, average women, they struggle in dating, they struggle in relationships. It's not just a pretty people problem. The average woman's experience is very similar. Like, most women go through similar things, just maybe at a lesser volume than a very attractive and very visible woman. For example, Tinder statistics, which is a dating app, which can be flawed, but Tinder stats show that men swipe right on 46% of profiles on dating apps, whereas women swipe on 14%. They swipe right on 14% of the profiles of men on dating apps. What does that mean? That means that men tend to be attracted to a larger variety of women. From the prettiest model to maybe a more plump, more voluptuous woman, men tend to have a higher variety of women that they find attractive, according to the statistics on dating apps. Therefore, that is why I'm always shocked at people who get shocked when they see a woman who they consider unattractive. Maybe a woman who's dark skinned and plus size. There was a lady on TikTok who was dark skinned and bigger. The comment sections on her wedding were horrible. People couldn't believe that a woman they consider overweight was being loved and was getting married. because they think that treatment is only supposed to be for pretty women. They think getting treated well is only for pretty women because that has been their experience in their entire life. Let's talk about how adults treat pretty kids. I had a cousin who, when she was a baby, very beautiful baby, literally she would be taken to weddings to be a flower girl because she was pretty. People would be like, we need a flower girl. And my cousin would go there to the weddings to be a flower girl. Certain experiences are not limited to beautiful people. Certain experiences are just human experiences. Certain things are just because of jealousy. Insecure people hate when you are confident, when you dress up, when you walk into a room and you are just feeling yourself. You're confident, you're secure in who you are, whether you're physically attractive or not. Confidence rubs off in a very negative way around insecure people. It's not just because you're pretty. That is an experience you have when you just are confident in who you are and you dress up. There are definitely experiences that are extremely bad that women go through who are very attractive. People wanting to attack you physically, people wanting to ruin your face because you're physically attractive. 100%. There are disadvantages to being physically attractive. But there's way more advantages. There's way more advantages to being physically attractive than there is. Because, like the question I asked in the beginning, if you had the choice to choose, would you choose to be physically attractive or physically unattractive? And I know most people would choose to be physically attractive. Here's why. We spend money on hair. We spend money on makeup. Some men spend money on cars, on cologne, on dressing up, on getting haircuts at Legends Barber. We're getting BBLs. Women are getting BBLs. They're getting skincare routines down. They're buying expensive products for skincare routines. Why? Because you want to be physically attractive. Being physically attractive boosts a certain level of confidence. Looking your best boosts a certain level of confidence. A lot of the things that we buy, a lot of the men who spend a lot of money in the clubs is because they want to appeal to some women in the club. Most men love cars, but I also know the reason you buy that big, expensive machine is because you know that it's going to appeal to certain women. Obviously, some men are just car enthusiasts, but most men spend money on these things in order to appeal to women. Women do the same thing. The clothes that we wear, the makeup, the jewelry, the things that we post on social media. It's because physically attractive people have an appeal. Physically attractive people sell products. That's why even brands want to align themselves with pretty people who have clear skin and a beautiful aesthetic and a beautiful aspirational life. It's because attractiveness, sex, sells. Do I think that being pretty comes with disadvantages? Yes. But I do think it's not as much as when you are not considered physically attractive. Because if I had the choice, I would also love to be short and tiny and petite, because that is physically attractive in South Africa. Most people want to be physically attractive because we know how mean society is to people they don't consider attractive. We've all been to high school. We've all been to primary. We know who used to get bullied. We know that your appearance used to get bullied a lot. If you grew up considered unattractive, there's a lot of trauma that you go through in high school, in primary, because of your physical appearance. Even today, clubs are the worst spaces for that, especially these high-end clubs. There was a time where clubs didn't even allow people to enter the club because of how they look. And I want us to actually talk about the fact that being pretty or physically attractive, handsome, allows you to get away with a lot more than someone who wouldn't be considered attractive. Chris Brown is a great example of it. Chris Brown has had so many negative allegations about him, but he still managed to have a huge concert in South Africa because he is a physically attractive man. Yes, he's talented, but his physique and his appearance also helps. People pay money to take pictures with Chris Brown because obviously he's a celebrity, but he's also an attractive man. Pretty people can get away with a lot more in our society. Remember this guy? There was a guy who trended because of his mugshot. A criminal who got a modeling contract just because he's physically attractive. Sign Bougie is a South African influencer. She's very beautiful, charismatic, but she's also had some scandals, and she can get away with it because she's a beautiful girl. Even Misogyny is amazing. She was one of the first influencers that I remember in South Africa who started the makeup tutorial thing. She's talented in her own way, but she's also had her own scandals, and you can get away with a lot of things because of your physical appearance. So in my opinion, I just don't think there's a lot of disadvantages to being beautiful. There's way more disadvantages to not being considered beautiful. A lot of us had to work on our personalities, on our humor, on our grooming, on our education because we were not considered physically attractive. People who were not considered physically attractive work harder on other aspects of themselves. And this is not to say that pretty people are just dumb. No, that is absolutely incorrect. They are very intelligent, pretty people. And that's one of the disadvantages as well of being considered pretty, because some people might think you are dumb because you're pretty, or you slept your way up to the top because you're pretty. Yes, those are disadvantages. But if you had to swap places with someone who is physically unattractive, would you do that? Would you swap places with someone you consider physically unattractive? Most people wouldn't. Most pretty people wouldn't, because they know that to a degree, being pretty gives them more advantages. There's more pros than cons to being physically attractive. I want to hear your opinion. What do you think about this conversation of pretty punishment, being punished for being pretty? And if you got to the end of this video, leave money emojis in the comment section. Thank you, darling. Bye-bye.